welcome. This is Afshin Rattansi and Yvonne Ridley joining you from on board HMS President in the heart of the English capital.
And the theme today is Revolution, Part 2. Yes, people power is the new superpower, and the guests today reflect that.
This Egyptian dissident comes on board HMS President to talk about events in Cairo. Just how long can the US puppet hang on?
And this next guest has seen it all before, in Algeria, which was plunged into a decade of civil war and strife when it got rid of its dictator.
Of course, this is all happening in the Muslim world, but what sort of impact will it have on Muslims living in the West? This guest talks about the growing trend towards Islamophobia.
All of this and so much more, so stay tuned to the show which rocks the boat.
Developments in the Arab world are moving at such a fast pace, it's hard to know what is going to happen next.
But our first guest has experienced it all before. He's an Algerian diplomat who saw his own country plunged into turmoil when the people rebelled. Welcome, Mohamed Labi Zatout. You predicted some of the turmoil which we're seeing in North Africa at the moment. You're the former deputy Libyan ambassador for Algeria. Where is the next riot or revolution going to happen?
Definitely. I mean, Arab states are practically the same. They have got the same characteristic, and they are practically the same systems. And I will say that it will spread everywhere in the Arab world. Practically on this so-called republic, like Libya, Algeria, Syria, and so on. But the other monarchies are not protected from this, because the symptoms or the causes of this uprising, of this revolution, in fact, are the same. That we have got very brutal regimes, ruthless, very regressive, in all sides, politically, economically, from the point of the society, and so on. Therefore, what happens in Tunisia, we see the remake or the recreation of what happened in Tunisia in Egypt. Egypt is a very central state, it's very important, the most populous state in the Arab world, and it will follow. I think the most probably nearest one to follow will be Yemen and Libya and Algeria.
Okay, let's go to Algeria, because you're Algerian. We know how brutal it is. The GIA, the agents provocateurs were present on the streets of Cairo. How can non-violent protest beat agents provocateurs like the GIA, fake Islamist groups, so-called Islamist groups? How?
Of course, the regime is trying to do everything. They already started huge propaganda operation, I will call it, telling people that don't go to the street, because there is, on the 12th of February, just in few days from now, there is a demonstration which the regime is fearing that it will turn to be something similar or what's happening in Egypt.
Would the Algerian people be prepared to go through a revolution, because their last one turned into 10 years of civil war?
The last one, in fact, it wasn't a revolution, it was election, which was called off by the top generals against the will of the people. It was really election which was recognized by the regime itself. But the generals thought at that time that the Algerian people are not ready for democracy, because they decide for the Algerian people. And can you imagine that top generals decide for the others?
The French government, because we don't have that much time, the French government, Algeria is rich. It's one of the richest countries in that area, which makes it slightly different because it has all that oil. What are the French going to do?
They have already played a very, very bad role there, in fact, terrible role. And
but this Saturday, will they start shooting the demonstrators with French guns?
What Sarkozy, we have heard Sarkozy just a few months ago said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to help to call for democracy in Algeria, to get Taliban there? Can you imagine that calling for democracy in Algeria will get Taliban? That's what the Western and some of the Western establishment are telling their people. They are lying, in fact, and they are lying openly.
They are using Islam as the fear factor, but, you know, you were the deputy ambassador in Tripoli. We are not hearing that much news coming out of Libya, but we are seeing on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook signs of dissent. How realistic is a revolution in Libya?
Since the fall of the regime of Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi has become very friendly to the West, and we have seen even Berlusconi, Tony Blair, Sarkozy, all of them making the queue to go there and to get, and they are also working as just merchant of weapons, selling weapons to Gaddafi, where at the same time, and I have been there for 4 years, and the people there are really suffering. Very rich state where people are really suffering. It's similar to Algeria, very rich state, very poor people, and not only poor materialistically, but on all sides of life. It's terrible. It's unbearable to live in Tripoli or in Algiers now.
Are you more pessimistic then about Libya? In
Not
terms
at all.
of the freedom of the people?
No, not at all. I'm very optimistic. I've been waiting for this time now for the last 15 years. From the last 15 years, I'm telling that the revolution is coming to the Arab world because we have got very ruthless, brutal, bloody regime, and people at the end of the day, even with the help and the support of the establishment in the West to this regime, at the end of the day, people they have the will and they will get rid of this regime.
Algeria's former diplomat to Libya, thank you very much for coming on board.
Pleasure
Yes,
for me.
thank you. I'm sure we'll be inviting you back again.
Pleasure for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.